wanna be a positive renegade, making changes for the better, throwing out old rules and creating a new landscape that can be shared. Be kind, be honest, be courageous. I wanna be a leader, don't be afraid. A voice whispers in. You have the power to change the wrong, or envision the past, build the future, plant positive in your garden and watch it grow. I wanna be a positive renegade, making changes for the better, throwing out old rules and creating a new landscape that can be
Foolish with Dan and Candice. Let's talk about movies and TV, music, books, or whatever strikes our fancy. Let's get excited, let's get weird, let's get foolish. Ooh, 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 ooh. Let's talk about movies and TV, music, books, or whatever strikes our fancy. Let's get excited, let's get weird, let's get weird, let's get foolish. Let's get foolish. Ooh, 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 ooh.
Okay, gang, and it's been a long time, and me and Candace are going to get into some of that here when I add her in just a couple of minutes or half a minute or whatever. You know me, gang, I like to just blab on and on, but I am going to let Candace talk on here. But I did want to show off the new, and I just put this together in like about 5 minutes. You may have noticed we've got a new logo. Me and Candace looking like a couple of badass action chicks. And I thought that was cool. I kind of wanted to spruce things up on our welcome back or return, I guess, to YouTube. But I wanted to show this off again if I can here. And this is the vintage comic book version of the picture with Friday Foolish with the little bullet holes in it. And me and Candace look like we're ready to do battle with I don't know, the Predator or something. I don't know. We're gonna go do something. But I mean, I wanted to show it to Candace before I put it on here, but I didn't have time. So hopefully she likes that. We'll hear what she thinks when I get her on here. So I just kind of wanted to show that off again. But this is me and Candace's return to Friday Foolish. For those of you that are new and not familiar with Friday Foolish, it's basically a variety type show where me and Candace just we get on here and we talk about whatever. We might talk about movies. They don't necessarily have to be horror movies. We might talk about books. We might talk about music, uh, or whatever strikes our fancy, just like the song says. Um, so that's in a nutshell what Friday Foolish is. It's just kind of a catch all variety type thing. And we really enjoyed doing it. But things got a little crazy for both of us there for a while, and we didn't get to do it, and we both missed it. And so when Candace said, "Hey, you want to do a Friday Foolish?" I was like, "Well, heck yeah, I want to do a Friday Foolish," because Candace is my best friend, and I just love talking with her anytime I can get to talk to her about anything. So, um, I just want to just briefly say that we've got a lot of programming, or I've got a lot of programming on the Deadites on Deck channel. Be sure to check it out. If you haven't subscribed and you've been seeing some of the content and you're enjoying it, please subscribe. It helps me. It helps the channel. Helps me get into the algorithms of YouTube. And you don't have to catch every live stream, because one of the great things about YouTube, if you can say there are some great things about YouTube, is that barring the end of the world or something catastrophic happening, this stuff's going to be in the cloud, right? Unless you get banned for doing something bad, but I don't think I'm doing anything that's going to get me banned on here. That you can go back and watch these on the replay, just like this Friday Foolish. It was kind of late notice. We kind of threw all our eggs in one basket and just got this together real quickly. But for those of you that didn't get to catch us live, or don't get to catch us live, you can watch this on the replay. So I've got a couple of polls going for some upcoming watch alongs, so be sure to check that out, and get your votes in if you want to have any say so about what movies are chosen for the upcoming watch along. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and add Candace here before I get to talking and make everybody sick. And hey, Jordan, you say hi. Just found out Dragon Ball Super is coming back, so I'm really excited about that. And who do you think will win in a fight between Ghostface against Angela Baker? I don't know, Jordan. That one's kind of, I almost am leaning towards Angela Baker from the Sleepaway Camp series, but let me bring Candace on here and see if she's got any ideas about that. Hey, Candace.
Hey, Dana, how are you? Can you hear me well?
Yeah, and your hair looks fantastic. I can see it in pictures, but
Yeah.
when you look at it on video, it's just a whole different
Well,
thing.
thank you. I just got it pulled up. It's not even fixed or anything, so I appreciate that.
Hey, Tom. Do you have any thoughts about who would win in a fight between Ghostface and Angela Baker?
Probably Angela Baker. I don't like I'm not a big Scream fan,
I didn't
You know?
think you were. So, yeah. So, I guess me and Candace are both leaning towards Angela Baker. I like at least the first two Scream films, and then after that, it's kind of up and down as far as I think it was the fourth one that I just absolutely hated. I can't tolerate that one. But Tom says my cousin Angela, and he says just kidding. So, Candace, is there anything that you want to announce or anything like that?
Not really. I'm just glad to be doing this. I mean, it's been such a long time. I don't even remember the last time that we did one of these. I think it might have been around the time, and I don't even know if that was I think it was a Friday Foolish. I mean, I think it might have been around September or so. Maybe after Ozzy
Right.
died.
Yeah, I think we did, because we did that we did the T and Ozzy thing, which was kind of like
Yeah.
a Friday Foolish type of deal where we just got on there and we just talked. I think it was me, you, and Chris mainly
Yeah. Yeah.
talking
I think that's the last time that we've done anything. So it's been quite a while. So I'm glad to be on here and doing it finally.
Yeah, yeah. Tom, yeah, I gotta look more into the new Sam Raimi movie because, I'm up for anything Sam Raimi related. They don't call me the Evil Dead chick for anything. So, and I met Sam Raimi. I don't know if I told people on this particular show, but I met Sam Raimi not that long ago, and it was a very, very nice experience. The Comic Con wasn't a nice experience, but meeting Sam Raimi was. The only thing that was bad, like I said, was some of the staff at the Lexington Comic Con were not very nice to people that were there, and they weren't even like I could understand if people were being belligerent to the staff, but these people weren't being belligerent to the staff. And me and Steve definitely weren't being belligerent to the staff. And we came and stood, waiting for Sam Raimi to come back from a Q&A. We were told that this is the time that you need to come. We stood in a long line on the loading docks to get this pass to come up and meet him. And this staff member comes over and says, "Why are you people here?" And we're like, we're here to meet Sam Raimi. Well, I want to see your passes. So everybody was getting out their passes it's just like you don't have to jump on people like that.
We were kind of bummed that we missed that one, but after hearing like your all's experience, and I think maybe Aaron had a bad experience. I can't remember who else.
Yeah, Aaron had a bad experience too. Yeah.
After hearing that, me and Chris was like, "Well, we're glad that we met him." When we did, I think we met him at Horror Hounds when we got to meet him.
Right.
So,
I
and
think
that
at
was
that I think at that time I was afraid, am I going to get another chance to meet Sam
yeah,
Raimi?
yeah. You never
Uh,
know.
and I was just like, I got to meet him. I got to meet him. And I was just not to get on a whole Sam Raimi thing, but it was one of those things like when you're in the middle of it and you're meeting the person, it
Yeah,
doesn't seem surreal. But later it seems surreal.
yeah.
And I was sitting in the vehicle and we were on our way home. And I looked at Steven. I bet he thought I was crazy. I said, I just met Sam Raimi. I've been wanting to meet this guy forever. And I never thought, way back when I started watching the Evil Dead movies, I never thought I'd be meeting Sam Raimi someday.
Yeah, I didn't either. I was kind of that way with Bruce Campbell. Just kind
Yeah,
of surreal.
yeah, yeah. And sometimes it doesn't hit you until, you're on your way home from a convention or Comic
Yeah.
Con or whatever.
Oh
What-
yeah. I've been there many times. I think John Carpenter was a big one for me. I remember thinking, "Damn, I just met John Carpenter," because he was so nice. Like we went and had our pictures taken with him, and he was just really, really nice. And I know that he can kind of be harsh sometimes.
Well,
So
people refer to him as grumpy, but when I met
he
him,
wasn't.
he was nice to me.
Yeah.
And, he asked me, where I was from and stuff like that. And Steve looked at me later and he said, "Well, he talked to you more." I said, "Well, I don't know."
Well, yeah, with our experience when we got up to him, he pushed Chris away and he said, "No, I put my arm around her." He was just joking, playing
Yeah.
around and stuff. But he was really nice. I had a good experience with him. But I understand that some people have. I mean, people are human, so you
Mhm.
know, it's kind of like let's see, somebody who's really grouchy, like Edward Furlong. We had a terrible experience with him, but
Oh, yeah,
people
I
are
remember
saying
this.
now that give him a second chance, but it was a terrible. That's one of the worst like experiences ever, and I'm so disappointed because
You're
I always loved him.
Was it
You know,
you or Chris that had the bad Doug Bradley experience?
that was me.
Okay, I thought so. I thought
And
so.
and Chris just he still can't believe that. And I'm like, maybe I should give it a second chance if he ever comes around, but it was such a bad experience that I went and I sold all my Hellraiser stuff. But
Oh, did you
also
really?
yeah, but also back then, to be fair to him, and I've come to realize this as I've gotten older, I was very sensitive back then. I was new to the conventions and stuff like that, and very sensitive. And I could have just taken things wrong. He could have been, something in the middle of. It was
Mhm.
very odd experience because the people in front of me, he was jovial and he was just really nice and excited to see him. But whenever I got up to him, it was just like nothing.
Yeah.
And maybe it was what I was portraying to him, what I was putting off to him. I could have been off putting and not realizing that I was. So, I think I just kind of jumped the gun on that because I've watched interviews, I've seen other like fan interactions and stuff with him. He seems very nice.
Mhm.
So I think I just got him at an off time maybe, and it might have been my fault. Do you ever reflect on stuff like that? Like you
Yeah, yeah,
reflect back?
I mean, with my Jamie Lee Curtis experience, and, that's probably gonna be the only time I meet Jamie Lee Curtis, and I was
Yeah,
so excited, and it wasn't really anybody's fault, it was just one of those freaky things that happen
yeah,
sometimes that the guy, God bless him, the guy in front of me, and he had been so nice in the long line that he was wanting to buy everybody alcoholic drinks and stuff like that. He must have had a load of money because that
probably.
dude had a ton of posters, and it was like $80 an item
No.
to get her. I mean, it was all going to charity, so that's a good thing. It
Yeah.
wasn't like she was pocketing all this money. But there was no way I could barely afford to get me and Steve a ticket to get one
Yeah.
thing signed a piece. So this guy with all of these posters gets up on that stage where Jamie Lee Curtis is sitting there with Sean Clark, and he just drops them all over the place after she signed them and he had put them back in the little holders and stuff. He dropped them all over the stage,
Yeah.
and it got everybody all flustered, including Jamie Lee Curtis. And Jamie Lee Curtis, Jamie Lee Curtis has a dry
Yeah, she
sense
does.
of humor, and I think sometimes people take it as she's mean or
Yeah.
hateful or something because she was saying, hurry up, to him. And he finally got all his stuff picked up and moved out of the way. But she was still distracted when I came up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was not his fault. It was an accident. It wasn't her fault. It wasn't mine. It was just, one of
One of
those
those
things.
things. Well, that's what happened. I know you're probably not into Power Rangers or anything like that, but me and Chris grew up watching the Power Rangers, so we were really excited to meet because we had met some of the cast before, but we had never met Jason David Frank. We'd always seen him at the conventions, and he was one of the, God rest his soul, he's not no longer with us, but he was one of the nicest guys. Like everybody always had amazing experiences with him. He would always take the kind of like Matthew Lillard. He would
Mhm.
take his time with people, and we were so excited to finally meet him. And what happened is there was a guy that the people in front of us, this guy came over. There must have been something weird going on with that guy. And it shook him up,
Mhm.
shook Jason David Frank up. So whenever it was mine and Chris's turn, it was very awkward and very off-putting, and it wasn't very nice. And we left kind of just feeling really weird.
Yeah.
And it was a really awkward thing and disappointing. I mean, not because he wanted it to be a disappointing experience for us. I'm sure that he wouldn't wanted us to feel that way leaving, but he was in the middle of something really weird going on. We think the guy, if I can remember correctly, he was doing something he shouldn't be doing, like maybe stalking him somehow or something. It was something weird going on, but we unfortunately did not have a good experience because of it. Didn't blame him for it, and wasn't mad at him for it, but it was just really awkward. So that's kind of like how your Jamie Lee Curtis thing went. Like
Yeah.
she didn't want it to be that way. It was just an event that happened to make it like that, and I hate when that happens. I mean, but
Yeah.
I think it's kind of our fault too because we kind of put them up on a pedestal. They're just human like
Yeah,
us.
we we have certain expectations a lot of times, and when those expectations aren't met, hey Stephen, when those expectations aren't met, then we kind of feel let down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I totally understand that. And I've had some experiences that I didn't know that I was going to have
Yeah.
such a fantastic experience, and I still carry that with me now. Dean Cameron was one such experience. Now, I love Dean Cameron and things like Summer School. I liked him in Bad Dreams, but I guess my favorite character probably was Chainsaw from Summer School because he was just a man after my own heart in that movie because him and his friend Dave were huge horror fans and huge Texas Chainsaw Massacre
Yeah.
fans. And I'm just like, this movie's perfect. I love this movie and I love the characters of Chainsaw and Dave. So I actually got to meet Dean Cameron and Gary Riley. They were right next to each other
Yeah.
at the convention. So I went up to Dean Cameron and met him first. And anybody that's seen my picture, like I didn't even know he was going to do this, but he like leaned in and leaned in his head, and it was just the cutest picture. But he was just so sweet and so nice and so down to earth. I didn't really know what to expect from him,
Yeah.
but it was a very nice experience. And then when I met Gary Riley second, Gary Riley was like, he looked at me and Steve and he said, y'all are made for each other. And
Yeah.
he was just talking about, like, this is not what I expected this guy to be talking about. He was very, like spiritual, kind of
Yeah.
like, and that was not, I didn't expect him to be wild and crazy or anything, but I didn't expect him to be like that. He was sort of like hippie-ish, like,
Yeah.
um, and he was really, really nice too. And so I couldn't have had a better experience with those people. Laura Marie Taylor, who was in Friday the 13th Part 2 and Girls Night Out, when I met her, just so sweet,
Oh, yeah.
so nice. And a lot of people were coming up to her and mentioning Friday the 13th Part 2.
Mhm.
Well, here I come with my DVD for Girls Night Out, and she just broke out in a smile, and she said, "You know," she said, "my husband and I were in that movie together before they were married, I think." I think that's how she met him. She met him on that movie.
Yeah.
And he played the nerdy guy that was the manager for the basketball team on that movie. And I already knew that, but I let her just kind of take the lead. She said,
Yeah.
"You know, I met my husband on that movie," and she says, "Here's a picture of him." She got out her cell phone, was showing me a picture and all that stuff. And that was just a very personable
Oh, yeah.
experience.
We've had some amazing experience, like, for Robert Englund was it's always a pleasure for us. I
Oh,
mean,
Robert England, even that quick photo op, it was like I was mesmerized by that man.
Yeah, I mean, we've told our experience on here several times, I won't say it again, but he's just always been really kind to us, and, I mean, there's like, Doug Jones is always over the top nice and stuff, and, um, I mean, there's a lot of people. PJ Souls is always sweet,
Oh,
Felissa Rose is always,
Melissa
like,
Rose is excellent.
amazing, so, I mean, we've had definitely more, probably 98% good good
Oh, yeah.
things. I mean, there's just a very small percentage of things that are, and, like, to give Edward Furlong credit, going back to that, he was really bad on drugs at the time, and I've heard that, he's kinda straightened up and he to give him a second chance. So if he ever comes around, because I love Edward Furlong, I love his role in Pet Sematary and, Pet
I
Sematary
had a
2.
huge crush on him about the time Pet Sematary 2, Terminator
Yeah,
2, all that.
yeah. So I would love to meet him again because, Brain Scan,
Yeah, brain
I
scan.
love Brain Scan, so if I ever get to meet him again, I would definitely would like to. I mean, because and even Doug Bradley, I would like because I still like Hellraiser. Used to love it, but I think I was really just kind of I don't know. I think I just kind of disappointed myself in that kind of sense. So I would definitely love to meet him again.
Stephen, you thought Pet Cemetery 2 is better than the first. Well, you get some people that say I just have, as much as I had a crush on Edward Furlong, and I like Anthony Edwards as playing his dad in that.
Yeah,
And I like Gus. The
I
stuff
love
with Gus is
Clancy
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 Brown.
Brown. I
Yes.
love Clancy Brown. I used to have the hugest crush on Clancy Brown.
Mhm.
I love I don't know, I think it's dependent on the day. I like them about the same. At one point, I probably would say that Pet Sematary too. I'm a huge, huge, huge Pet Sematary fan. Both of them. I love them both.
Right.
I think that it's just and they're really different in a lot of ways, but I love Dale Midkiff.
Dale Midkiff, I love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'll tell you this, Pet Sematary 2 is more fun. I
Yes,
love it.
that's what I was gonna say. It's more, it gets in there, and there's some parts that make you laugh, even though
Yeah.
you probably really shouldn't laugh at,
No.
like, when Gus is eating
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
mashed potatoes are falling out of his mouth, and the boys start laughing at him, and all of a sudden he goes like that and
yeah,
just looks at them. It's
and then
like
yeah.
it rides a very fine line between the horror and the humor with that.
Yeah, it does, and like the whole motorbike scene and all that stuff, but,
Yeah.
um, I would probably I don't know. Like I said, it's just depending on when you ask me. I absolutely love the second one. The first one is one of my favorite horror movies as well, but it's hard to watch. But, I love Fred Gwynn. I'm a huge Fred
Greg
Gwynn
Gwynn
fan.
is fantastic in that.
But, Miko Hughes, hit Gage, that whole scene, that's very hard. And he even became even more harder to
After
watch
you
once
became a parent, I
after
bet.
I became a parent, and me and Chris both talked about that, how much harder it was to watch that, and but to me, it's one of my all-time favorite Stephen King adaptations. I just love
Yeah.
it. I think it's a great, great film.
And you know that people have talked about, not very many people, but I have heard some people say that Pet Sematary is just an awful film, that it's got awful acting in it. I'm like,
I don't
I
think
don't see it. I don't see that at
I
all.
I remember the first time watching it, I was young. I was very young, probably,
I was young too when
6 or
I was
7.
older than that, but I was probably, I don't know, around 12 or
Yeah.
so.
Oh, no, I was about 6 or 7, and it absolutely terrified me.
Well, I'll
That
tell
was
you,
one of the movies that stuck with me.
Zelda terrified me, and
See, but
Zelda
that's what
still gets under my skin. I
you
mean,
know, talk and we've probably talked about this before because I know we talked about Pet Sematary, but the whole Zelda stuff, I might have been even younger than 6 or 7 because I remember kind of the first time that I seen it was not all the way through. My grandpa was a huge horror fan. He loved horror films. And, I guess that's why my aunt loved horror, and that's probably where I got it because she was a big influence on me. But, that because through him was the first time I ever learned about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and he told me about, Ed
this
Gein
is
and
so fantastic. I
yeah.
love it that your grandpa took it.
Yeah, he loved it. The first time I remember when House of a Thousand Corpses came out, and he had to babysit me or whatever.
Mm.
That's what he was watching, and he just sitting there. My papa, had pocket watch, and
Yeah, I mean,
wearing
that's what makes it
overalls, and
so cool, though.
yeah. But I remember walking in and seeing the scene, the hallway, and them kind of going around to the bed where Zelda was, and I remember seeing that, and it just absolutely frightened me beyond words. I mean, that was like I had nightmares about that, and it just I never forgot Pet Cemetery. And
Mm,
then the first time that I actually sit down and watched it from the beginning, like I wanted to sit down and watch it. I was probably a little bit older, maybe 11 or 12.
mm.
And I just loved it ever since. I just thought that it was absolutely one of the most horrifying things. But you get desensitized as you get older, but it's still spooky, I think.
Oh yeah. I mean, it came out what in 89 or so.
Yeah.
And
Miko Hughes was very little.
yeah, yeah, he was a little guy. And the scene that Candace is talking about, I know exactly what she's talking about. And it is even someone that's not a parent, it's hard to watch because the thought of that that's not really your child, but that
Yeah.
looks like your child, and you're having to stick a needle in that child's neck
Yeah.
to basically put him back to sleep, to take him back to what he was.
Yeah, it really strikes a nerve.
And the other scene where Gage actually gets killed in the road, that I
Yeah.
I have a very hard time watching that because you don't really see anything, but you do because
Yeah.
your mind is making all kinds of images that are best left unthought of. But you see that one shoe with the blood on it flying up in the
Yeah.
air, and that's just enough. And then uh, Dale Midkiff's scream
Yeah.
comes in, and you just feel the pain of
You
every parent
do.
that's ever lost a child, no matter how they lost a child.
Yeah, definitely, and the thing that, um, because when I read Pet Sematary, it's much more scarier than the book, I think, but I either read an interview or seen an interview with Stephen King where he said that that was one of the most scariest things because he gets his books and stuff from dreams and stuff, and he said that was just like his worst nightmare, and you can really tell. I mean, that's why I love reading Stephen King's books compared to the movies because there's so much more detail that goes into
Yes,
these
yes, they
books,
do.
and they can really mess with your mind. Like I love The Green Mile. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. Well, if you could call it a book, it's a series of, but it's the book is so much more. It goes into so much more about John Coffey and all that stuff. It's such a good. I know I'm bouncing from one thing to another, but
Well, no, that's okay. That's what we're
it
kind of
reminds
here to do this. Just throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. And I like these kind of shows because they're more free form, and you don't always have to have a structure to.
No, I think we just had to agree to come in here and chat anyway. I mean, it's just good being on here and doing something. I mean, life has been really busy for both of us, especially me. It seems like I have been not home, but here recently, that's changed. So
Mm,
hopefully, this could be something that we can do, on the regular again. It's just I miss doing them. I know Dana did.
yeah.
So it's good to be back and being able to do something like this. I about got out of the habit of knowing what to do.
So I mean, I just get on here and I just talk whatever comes into my brain. We talked about conventions, we're talking about Stephen
Yeah.
King adaptations and stuff like that. Stephen, you say Zelda was the scariest character in the first Pet Cemetery, in my opinion. A guy
Yeah.
played Zelda. He did a good job. Yes, a guy did play Zelda.
Yeah.
And I I don't know how many of you guys and gals in here have watched the Unearthed and Untold, the Path to Pet Cemetery, but that is a really, really good documentary that was made that kind of takes you behind the scenes a little bit to from the casting process. I mean, they talked to Dale Midkiff, and unfortunately they couldn't talk to Fred Gwynn because Fred
Yeah.
Gwynn had already passed by the time that had been done. But they talked to Miko Hughes, they talked to the guy that played Zelda. I mean, they talked to many of the principal players. That Brad Greenquist,
Mhm.
who played
Pascal.
Pascal, yeah, that was hard too. With the scene, it's the first day of his job, lose his job at the college
Yeah.
as a doctor, and they're bringing a dying guy in here that got hit by a truck, and his brains are basically falling out of his head and everything. They're carrying this poor guy in there. What a first day for somebody to have,
Yeah.
and so Paxcal keeps coming back as a ghost to warn Lewis.
Yeah, and he
Of
keeps on
course,
rotting and looking
yeah,
worse.
yeah, he looks worse and worse, but he's like, he keeps trying to tell Lewis, don't do this. It's going to end badly. Don't do this. And Lewis doesn't answer or doesn't listen to him. And, he doesn't listen when Gage dies. He doesn't listen later on. And he thinks it'll be okay. I waited too long with Gage. It'll be
Yeah.
okay this time. And no, it's not okay. And I also like the fact that Stephen King is a big Ramones fan.
Yeah.
And I like a fair amount of the Ramones songs, and I like things like Rock and Roll High School with PJ Souls in it, or she's in love with Joey Ramone and has that whole fantasy about Joey Ramone coming to sing to her. And um, I wasn't like into the Ramones that way. Like I didn't think Joey Ramone was sexy or anything, but if you did, that's okay. But I like their music. I liked a fair amount of their music.
Yeah, Chris is a big fan.
Uh, and my parents probably thought I was crazy when I bought this CD of the Ramones. It was like the best of the Ramones.
Yeah, I had
And I'm
that one.
in there listening to Sheena as a punk rocker and, just all the different, I want to be sedated and stuff like that. They probably thought, what in the world is our daughter listening to? Um, but they did do the song that was the Pet Cemetery theme.
Yeah.
And Stephen King was a huge, huge fan of the Ramones.
Yeah.
And he was also he's also always been a huge, huge fan of AC/DC, which I love AC/DC too.
They're one of my favorite bands. Yeah, they're in my top favorite bands of all time.
But if you watch Maximum Overdrive, you got a whole AC/DC soundtrack. I mean, the Who Made Who album. I
That's
mean,
one
there
of their
you go.
that's one of their best with Brian Johnson. It is. I love it. Uh, that I remember seeing that for the first time, and because Stephen King, he makes that little cameo in it, and at the time that I had seen it, I knew what Stephen King looked like, and I said, "That's Stephen King."
Yeah.
No, but that I think it's just awesome that he incorporates stuff like that to the movies and stuff. Like with Pet Cemetery, I think that's like one of Chris's favorite Ramones songs. I'm not a huge Ramones fan,
Mhm.
but I used to like them growing up as a teenager and stuff. But I do like the Pet Cemetery. I like that a
Mhm.
lot.
I used to sing along with that. At the end of Pet Cemetery, I would just sit through the credits, no matter how many times I had seen the movie, and sang along with that song. And I recorded it off of the VHS tape or
Yeah,
whatever way back when. Does anybody remember cassette tapes and recording things? Well, I did that. I recorded
I
it.
recorded the radio all the time.
Yeah, I did that too. I did that
Then
too.
I would run out of, like, the recordable tapes, and I
Hmm.
knew how to record off of, like, a tape that I didn't like or something like that. You just
Oh
put, like,
yeah,
toilet paper or something down in the
or
little hole.
put a little
Yeah,
tape on there. Yeah.
yeah, we would do that, but, our friend James, who sadly passed away or, Abby's husband,
Mhm.
um, he loved the Ramones. That was one of
Yeah.
his all-time favorite bands, and when anybody talks about the Ramones, I always think about him because he loved the Ramones.
Mhm.
I can't remember if Abby and James were at that convention. Were you at the convention, that they had the big Pet Cemetery reunion?
I
Del
don't
Mid
think I
was
think
there?
I missed that because I think you and I had that conversation
Maybe.
about Dale Midkiff because really wanted to meet him at that. Was it Horror Hound? No, it was not Horror Hound. It was Scarefest.
Is that what it
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yes, he was at that one, yeah. I didn't meet him at that one. I wanted to meet him, but I think something happened and we couldn't. I can't remember. He was just really busy. at
It
that
was
time.
crazy. That was the one where Steve got so upset because we
Yeah.
couldn't find anywhere to eat.
Yeah, I don't like that fact because I miss, like, that Arby's that was down there and that convention center and
Yeah.
stuff.
They just really and it's not the convention people, it's not the people that do Scarefest.
No.
It's whoever did the convention center and took all that stuff out and put all this new stuff in, and it's overpriced, and there's like there were lines everywhere. There
Yeah.
were lines at the food truck
Yeah.
outside of the convention center. I'm like, those people that made the decisions for the convention center just completely screwed things up.
Yeah, yeah, because it used to be convenient, there used to be a nice, like, sit and dine in
Yeah.
place that you could go to, then there was, like, um, maybe a Subway, I can't remember, and
There
I know
was
there was
like a mall food court
it
right
was,
there.
yeah, and it was very convenient, and I remember the first time going back there and hit that stuff being gone, the
Mhm.
whole layout had changed so drastically that I just was lost because I had been there so many times. Because Scarefest was always one that we would always go to,
Yeah.
and when we went back and it was just so different, and I'm like, "I don't even know where I'm going or where I'm at,"
Mhm.
but like you said, it's not their fault, it's just I don't like the changes that they've done to the we're
Mhm.
old school, we like stuff staying the same.
Yeah, we do. We're getting to be old fogies, folks. So we're just
Yeah, exactly,
we
and I
still like our horror and our rock music and stuff like that. But I mean, when you go and change something like that and it's a drastic change, everybody's like,
yeah.
what in the heck? What's going on? And Steve was really pissed because he was like, I got to get out of here. I can't, it was wall to wall people everywhere. There were lines winding around everywhere. You could not figure out where one line started and where another one ended or whatever. It was just,
Yeah. I think also it's just it used to be such a chill, and I hate to use that lingo, but it used to be a
it
chill
did.
environment, and we were so used to just kinda go I mean, it was crowded, but it wasn't like that, and I think it just exploded, and it's something that it used to not be. Back when it was like the paranormal, type.
Yeah, the only thing that I can see that maybe the convention promoters should think about is not having so many high profile guests at one show to kind of maybe divide them up, because you got Matthew Lillard, which a whole bunch of people still want to meet. And you had the last one I went to, I know Matthew Lillard was there. They had a whole bunch of Pet Cemetery people. They had a bunch of Phantasm
Skeet
people.
Ulrich was there too
And
as well,
Skeet
right?
Ulrich was it?
He
Yeah,
brings
I
in a
believe he
lot of
was.
people. He
Mhm.
brings in a ton of people. And I mean, in reality, I mean, on paper, that's such a great thing having all these
Yeah,
high profile people and stuff, but it brings in like so many people, which is what they want, I guess.
but
But
unfortunately, what it does is it brings in the masses, and it
yeah,
brings in a lot of younger people that, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but what happens a lot of times, and it happened with the Walking Dead stuff too, when that Walking Dead stuff started and there were just masses of lines of teeny bopper girls wanting to meet some of the younger people that was in the Walking Dead and stuff like that. um, what I think that did though is it drives away the old school fans because they don't want to wait in these long 2 and 3 hour lines to even get into the convention. And then I think Candace might have she froze for half a second. She's
can
back
you
now.
see me now?
Yeah, yeah. I was afraid that you were going to go away because you were frozen
Well,
a little
we
bit.
do have ice outside coming down, so
So if Candace goes away, it could be the ice, folks. But um, what I'm saying is that I know there's room for everybody to be able to enjoy these things, but it's sad to see that there are some horror conventions that have kind of moved more away from the prime horror side of it and went more towards the popular culture side of it because The Walking Dead became part of popular
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah.
The Scream movies became part of popular
Yeah.
culture. And when that happened, things just exploded.
The Walking Dead is the turning point.
Yep. That was
That was the
definitely
turning
the,
point.
yeah. Mm,
Mhm. And then kinda what took over The Walking Dead's place was, Scream made this big huge resurgence and Hit took over kinda that Walking Dead's, slot of what Hit had the impact that Hit had had on conventions and stuff, and it's never been the same. But, I'm sure that people from the, like, '80s and '90s convention scene and even the early 2000 conventions,
right.
because I didn't start going to conventions until 2010. I think Chris was 2009. I'm not for sure when you started.
I was 2009 when I started
Yeah.
going.
But, that was still probably so much more different than because we've met people who's been going to conventions, like out in California, places like that,
Yeah.
um, since the '90s or the '80s, and that what they would tell us was that back then you could go in there and stuff was free.
Yeah.
The autographs and stuff was free. So, I'm sure that it's a whole lot different than what it, was. 'Cause, I remember the '90s,
Uh-huh.
you could get books, from like the Scholastics book
Yeah.
fairs and stuff that you could have celebrities' addresses and stuff. You could get
Oh, yeah.
autographs for free. You could send, Jaleel White, Steve Urkel or somebody like that in a letter, and they would send you in a autograph. Me and my friend did that. We would go and we would send in letters, and sometimes we get stuff back.
I
Uh,
actually, way back when, even before I met Robert England, got a picture with him. I wrote to him and got a signed,
Chris did
professional
too.
headshot. And I've still got it somewhere. It's
Mhm.
either at my parents' house or it's here at me and Steve's house
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah,
Joe
yeah.
Bob Briggs, I got his back when he
Mhm.
was doing Monster Vision.
Yeah, I got a book from him one time me and Chris were dating, and he signed the book for free. I had to buy the book, but he sent it and it was signed and all that stuff. I remember like Michael Nesmith of the Monkees, you could get
Yeah.
anything that you bought off of his website. He would sign it and send it in for free, and just and some people you could just request, but a lot of people here in recent times have stopped doing that. They
Yeah.
don't, I think that the autograph stuff has gotten so huge that people's like, "Well, people's getting paid for this, why
Oh,
can't
yeah.
I?" And which is, their it's their right,
Right.
but it just it's not like it used to be, I
No.
stuff is always about money anymore, and
Hmm.
you gotta have money to survive, so I guess, it's just getting hard for everyone, so everybody's trying to get what they can.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I doubt you can get a free autograph from Robert England now.
no, no,
Yeah.
he used to be $10 for your own item and stuff like that. That's no longer that.
Mhm.
It's so
And I don't hold any ill will towards Robert England.
no,
I'm just
oh, no.
saying
I
that
think
times have changed,
yes.
I actually went to one horror convention before I started going to them on a, semi or regular basis. And that was way back in, I believe, 2004.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
that's where I met Steve. That's where I met Candice and Chris and all the other people that I know now. And my brother and my sister-in-law took me up to Cleveland, Ohio, or Strongsville, Ohio, which is just outside of Cleveland, to the Cinema Wasteland convention.
huh.
And that
Oh,
was the first horror convention I ever went to.
I didn't
And
even know they existed.
yeah, and the Last House on the Left baddies were there. I know Last House on the Left is not a movie for everybody, and I wouldn't recommend it for everybody. But I was really excited. I wanted to meet all those people, and I know that like people like Fred Lincoln that was in that movie, they were in porn before, I know that. But Fred Lincoln, let me tell you, when I met that guy, he was one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life and so nice. He was so nice to me. And I think it was his daughter that came up while I was meeting him and wanted $20 or something. She wanted to go buy a pair of jeans, and he got out his wallet like a dad would and handed her money, and she went off on her merry way. But, that's not something that you would see nowadays, really,
No.
at a convention. But, people will be nice, but he was just like, he was so funny and so nice. I mean, I could just I could forget that he was in porn, and I'm just like, this is a guy that I watched a horror/exploitation movie with him in it, and he was a bad dude in that movie.
Yeah.
But he was a very nice guy to me when I met him. As a man, he was very nice to me, and of course, he signed the picture and said, and anybody that's seen the original Last House on the Left knows what this alludes to. He signed it, Dana, don't do it with your hands tied behind your back. So
I
if you don't know what I mean by that, go watch Last House on the Left, but don't say I didn't warn you. And I met David Hess as well, who played Krug, the head bad guy. And over the years, and David Hess is no longer with us, God rest his soul, either. But David Hess has played some notoriously bad, evil characters over the years. But when I met him, he was also a musician too, a very accomplished musician. He was so nice, very soft spoken, very laid back, not at all like any of the characters he played. And it was a good experience for
Yeah.
me.
Like, I didn't get to meet David Hess, but, I was friends with him on Facebook before he passed away, and, he would comment on stuff, and he was just really always nice.
Hmm.
I think that I don't think Chris has ever met him. I think that might be one that he said he wished he had met, that he had a chance to and did. I can't remember. Maybe he did. I can't remember. But I think that might be one that he didn't get the chance to meet that
Uh-huh.
he wanted to. But when you was talking about porn and stuff, it reminded me. Who else was in porn? Was it Stephen Jeffries?
I think he maybe was in some gay porn. That's what I
I
heard.
think so. I think that he was, and he was like somebody that you would never expect to be in porn.
Oh, a porn of any kind.
His character to me, was always
I
really
love his character in Fright Night.
Chris
You're
liked
so
it too.
cool, Brewster.
He was always very annoying to me.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
loved the I
Chris does
loved the
too.
character of Evil from Fright Night, but just because every time something happened to Charlie Brewster, his girlfriend would dump food on him in the
Yeah,
restaurant or whatever, and he'd say, "Oh, you're so cool, Brewster," and I was like, I love that guy. I've got I've got great stories about Fright Night. Anyway, Fright Night was one of the first horror films I ever watched, and it was in my parents' younger days. And not only did they take me to a lot of drive-in movies when I was a kid, and when my brother was a baby, my brother was still in the baby seat,
oh my goodness.
yeah, so he doesn't remember this, but I remember things like the beginning of prom night. I remembered when young Robin fell out the window in prom night. I swear I remember Death Ship. Mom and Dad said they can't remember if they ever took me to see Death Ship. I said, I remember that. I remember certain parts of that movie. The one where the old woman finds the candy on the Nazi death ship. They don't know it's a Nazi death ship, but she eats the candy she finds, and she gets these gross all over her face, and she's going down the hallway after these kids. Help me! Help me! These kids are screaming and running. Those are things that you never forget when you're a
Yeah.
kid.
No, no, is that a re is Ghost Ship a remake of that?
I don't think so. I've seen Ghost Ship, but it's been a little while. I mean, maybe they intended it to be, but to
Well,
me,
there's a scene that I believe, and I could be wrong, so don't take this as gospel or anything like that. But it seems like there's a scene where they eat some candy or something, and it turns into
I need
maggots.
maybe I need to go back and rewatch that because, like I said, it's been a little while since I've
Yeah,
seen it, but it
seems
was,
like that.
and it may have been intended to be a remake of Death Ship.
But do
Uh,
you remember that scene that they're eating something and it turns
no,
into
see, that's
maggot?
why I need to go back and rewatch it because I'd really like to check
I
that
could be
scene out.
wrong. I could be just visualizing that mixed in with the Lost Boys or something like that. But
Oh yeah, where they, how those maggots taste.
uh,
Oh man. Speaking of another person I really like, Kiefer Sutherland. Kiefer Sutherland is a very
oh, I love him.
versatile actor. He can play anything. I've seen him
Yeah.
play good guys and I've seen him play some bad guys too.
Yeah, I always had a crush on him. I thought he was cute.
Yeah. Yeah, and sexy at some points. I
Yeah.
mean, I ain't even gonna lie about that. I mean, he was even sexy as David in the Lost Boys.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah, of course.
And I liked him in, I don't know how many of you guys and gals have seen 1969, but that is a really good movie where Kiefer Sutherland plays a very hippie-ish college student, and Robert Downey Jr., who I love Robert Downey Jr. as
Oh, no,
well.
he was very good looking too. I just watched
And
that movie with him the other day.
mm, the only one where I didn't think he looked sexy, and I don't think he was supposed to look sexy, was Home for the Holidays with Holly Hunter, where he plays Holly Hunter's brother, and he's gay in it. And I think that is why, you know, he's with another guy and stuff like that. So you don't see
I
him
don't
as
think
a sex symbol
I
that way.
don't think I've ever seen that one.
It's a good Thanksgiving movie about a very dysfunctional family.
Hmm. I may have seen it. I can't remember, but I always love Robert Downey Jr. Me and Chris watched that one. Never seen it before. That Heart and Souls, and that was one.
Oh,
Me and Chris both were blown away by it. Like that's one of the greatest movies that we've watched here recently. It was just really, really, really good. Have you ever seen it?
I don't think I've seen that. I need to watch that.
Really good. I love that. That is so funny. And then he's in another one that I love called Chances Are. It's about
Oh, I
Sylvia
have seen
Shepherd.
that one, but it's been a while.
Yeah, yeah, he's really cute. I think Robert Downey Jr. and Kiefer Sutherland, they both are neck and neck with just being
Oh, oh yeah, oh
like
yeah.
Dennis Quaid back then was really, really sexy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Kurt Russell in his younger days. I like Kurt Russell too. I mean,
Kurt Russell.
he might
Hmm.
not be for everybody though, but
I mean, he's okay. Yeah. I mean, he's not, you
Kurt
know.
Russell is a little. I'm not saying that Kiefer Sutherland and Robert Downey Jr. are sissy boys or anything, but I'm saying Kurt Russell is a little more rugged.
Yeah.
He's
Now,
the bearded dude and stuff like that.
I never seen him in that kind of way, but I'll tell you, I like Tom Selleck. I always thought that he was a very attractive man.
Mhm.
Chris said he didn't care for Tom Selleck movies. I always did. My dad loved that movie called Quigley Down Under.
Not bad, no.
Yeah, I loved Quigley Down Under. I don't know if you ever seen that or not, but that was a movie
That
that we
one I
always watched.
haven't seen, but I do know the
Yeah,
title.
my dad was a big fan of that one. It's kinda westerny, but it takes place down in the outback.
And I think,
So
yeah, I think very young Clint Eastwood was sexy.
yeah, like rawhide type.
And then to play Misty for me and stuff
Yeah, and
like
I just
that.
recently watched that one. I had never seen it before, but Chris always sang the praises of Place Misty for me, and I finally watched it with him, and that was a really good movie.
Yeah, it's the precursor to things like Fatal Attraction, folks, in case you were
Yeah,
wondering. And
it
in
was
some
really good.
ways, I think it does it better than, even though I love Fatal Attraction, it does it one better in a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
respects. Um,
And I just wanna say before you say whatever you're gonna say, if you
mhm.
see me messing with my nose, I have my long bar in, and if it's
Oh, okay.
so I'm not so if you see that, I'm
Well,
not picking my
sometimes
nose
people might see me pushing mine back in. Me and
It
Candace
hangs
said
out the bottom of my nose, and I hate to have that on here like that, but I just wanted to point that out.
mine just kind of pops out the other side of my nose.
Mine's got
Sometimes.
the long bar, and it hangs out the bottom of my nose, and I have to wait till my other one comes in to replace it because it's the only one I have right now.
Mm.
So, I don't know, I hate doing that because 'cause I'm afraid that people might think I'm picking my nose.
So I just wanted to read some of these so people don't think that I'm ignoring them. But Stephen says, I got a postcard from John Dunsworth, who played Jim Leahy on the Trailer Park Boys show. It was a vulgar show, but still hilarious.
Yeah,
Have you
Chris
seen,
likes that.
have you seen Trailer Park Boys? I have not, but I've heard a lot about it, and I've heard people tell me that I need to watch it.
Yeah,
I just
Chris and my brother love the Trailer
I
Park
love
Boys.
that.
I never was somebody who sit down and watch it, but I would watch it with them, and what I seen, it's funny.
Sometimes things that are vulgar are still funny. I mean, because, you know, me and Candace have talked about Ozzy, and after the passing of Ozzy, see, I never watched the Osbournes whenever it was out, whenever it was out at that time in the early 2000s. And um I wish now that I hadn't been so stubborn, but I was of that mindset that I wasn't listening to Ozzy Osbourne at that time, didn't really know anything about him or his family, and I just wasn't interested at the time. But after he passed, I started watching the series, and I'm like, this stuff is funny. Some of the stuff, poor Ozzy trying to, get this remote control to work for the TV and having to scream for Jack. And,
Yeah.
I saw a clip that somebody had on YouTube of where Sharon got Ozzy the Ricky Martin coat, and he was like, I
It was like a
Sharon,
silk coat. Yeah, it's
yeah.
like silk or something like that. Yeah. That's a
And he's
very
like, "This is
attractive
a
coat.
Ricky Martin coat." And
I like it.
I think Kelly was saying, "Dad, are you gonna wear that?" And so, you know, some parts of the Osbournes were vulgar, and they said the F word every 5 seconds.
Well,
But the more I watched it, I realized they're not saying that word to be vulgar. They're saying that word because that's part of their vocabulary. That's
it
how they
is,
talk
yeah.
to each other. And
Well,
I, at least for me, once I could get my head wrapped around that concept, I was fine
yeah.
with it.
Well, I grew up watching Cheech and Chong, so vulgar and F words and stuff like that
Well,
doesn't.
I got my dad. I don't want y'all to think my dad's a bad guy, but he's the one that introduced me to Cheech and Chong.
Oh,
So
honey, I was a little bitty girl watching Cheech and Chong. That was like a favorite movie in the house, Up in Smoke, Next Movie, stuff like
oh
that.
my gosh. Yeah, Up in Smoke is one of my favorites because I laugh like a loon at that stuff. I mean, uh, when they're smoking that big old joint, he gets that big old
Wowie,
joint,
wowie, man.
and he says,
It's got
"What's this?
Labrador.
What's this got in it?" And he talks about it's got some Labrador in it.
What's
What's
Labrador?
Labrador, man? And he said, "Well,
It's
the
dog shit, man.
damn effer ate it. My dog ate it." And he said I had to follow him around with a little baggie to get my stash back.
Oh, yeah, I can quote it frontwards to back. I can play it's
Yeah.
one of those movies I can just visualize in my head. I've seen it
Mhm,
so many times, it's just crazy. Then, the next movie with Red and it's got
mhm.
Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman's in it, and I remember as a little kid 'cause Pee Wee Herman, I was a huge, huge Pee Wee's Playhouse, fan, and that was,
Mhm.
see him in that, and he's got kind of a, vulgar type scene.
Yep.
And it just I don't know, it's just something normal for me. I don't know if I would let my kid see it right now, and he's
Yeah.
13, but I don't know. I was a lot younger than him. Me and my brother
I
was.
think we were. I think I was. I think you were, Candace, Chris, and Steve, and several of us that are from our group. We just, I don't know. It was just a different time.
Yeah, I mean, even like movies that were targeted towards kids had the innuendos. Pee Wee's Playhouse had tons of innuendos and adult humor and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like I was raised like with Ren and Stimpy. That definitely was not a something for kids. So, you know, but even today there's stuff like that. I mean, but it's just a different generation. He's 13. I think he's old enough to watch that. I mean, he knows what's right and what's wrong and stuff. So, which as a kid, I mean, we had dare programs back then. I don't even think they have that anymore about like,
I don't think they do.
so, we knew what was right and what was wrong. So, um,
And I
yeah,
don't think it really, this is my personal feeling, and I don't have kids myself, but I look at when I grew up and what my mom and dad allowed me to watch, what they didn't allow me to watch. And I've said this over and over and over again. My parents shielded me from very few things. The only thing that they ever shielded me from, and I am thankful that they shielded me from, was things like I Spit on Your Grave, things like Last House on the Left, stuff that had stuff that my mind at that age could not comprehend. So why should I be watching it?
yeah.
And my parents knew that, but the scary stuff, they knew I could handle it.
No, my parents were not scary movie fans.
Mhm.
My dad especially did not like me watching them. He didn't want me, but I would. I'd watch them. I would go stay on with my aunt. That's all we'd watch. My mom didn't care. My dad was very weird about that, and it's so weird because it was his dad that loved the horror films and stuff. But
Uh-huh.
I think my dad was just scared of them.
Yeah.
He didn't like watching them, so he didn't really say anything, but he didn't like it that I went and watched them and stuff. But he'd let me watch Cheech and Chong, so I mean, so
Well, I guess he probably thought, well, Cheech and Chong's funny. This
no, my dad was if he liked it, it was okay. If he didn't like
if
it,
he
then
didn't like it, it wasn't okay.
that's, I'm not gonna lie about it. That's just the
Mhm.
way he was. He always was that way. But,
So if
uh,
he had liked horror movies,
yes,
then
he
you
wouldn't
would have
care.
been
No, no. Now, whenever he got older and Chris got in the family, I
Mhm.
would actually go in there and because Chris got really close to my dad's no longer with us. Dana knows that, but anybody watching, my dad passed away in 2003, right around Christmas time. But Chris was very close to my dad. So he kind of trusted in Chris, and him and Chris would sit and watch horror movies. And my dad was actually sitting and watching those with him. And he like Train to Busan. I've never Buse is it Train to
Oh,
Buse?
Train to Busan. Ooh-wee,
Yeah, I've never seen it.
that's a hard one to watch.
Well, him and Chris, they watched it. I couldn't
Now,
believe that. I
I'm
said, "What the."
fine with the zombie stuff until the end, and I don't wanna
I've
say
never
what.
seen it or anything like that, but he watched that with Chris, and he would sit and watch them with him, and I was like, "What in the world?" But, I guess he might not liked what he was seeing, but he would do it, I guess, to bond with Chris.
Yeah. Well,
So
I
Chris
mean,
kinda had that effect
however
on
you
me.
can bond, with I think that's fine. Now, my dad, he never really cared what I watched as far as horror movies go, but dad's attitudes towards certain horror films as he got older, he didn't want to watch them because they gave him the heebie jeebies.
Yeah.
And I don't want to freak Candace out, so I'm not going to talk about this very, very much. But possession films like The
Yeah.
Exorcist,
Yeah.
which he could watch when he was younger. Him and mom went on a double date with another couple to the drive-in and saw The Exorcist when it
Ooh,
came out. Because The Exorcist came out in what, 74?
I don't know, and I don't care.
73, 74, but they were if it was 74, they had probably graduated. If it was
Yeah.
73, they were being on their way to graduating.
Yeah.
And they went with another couple, and Dad always laughed about the guy in the back seat, the guy half of the other couple was covering his eyes and like,
I
I
would have
can't
been
say
too.
this, I can't say this. And Dad
No.
used to always laugh about that and tell stories about that. And then flash forward to Dad being older, and I can't watch this stuff anymore. This stuff gives me the heebie-jeebies. He can't even
No.
watch The Conjuring or
Now,
anything like that.
surprisingly, I love the Conjuring movies. I
Mhm.
love them. Doesn't mean that I don't feel some discomfort, but I think that's what they're made for. Now,
Right.
I can watch those. It took me a while to feel comfortable watching them. And recently, well, last year, in the summer of last year, I started from what I did, I did in chronological order of what
Mhm.
the date that the movies were supposed to take place in. So I watched them from front to end, and it got uncomfortable, but nothing like the extra. People that don't know this, I don't like possession. That's my thing. I don't cross that line with that stuff. But I do like the Conjuring films. Now, the one where the little girl is possessed in that's kind of hard. Which one
Mhm.
is that? Is that the third or fourth one? Maybe
Maybe, yeah.
something.
They all
Which I
start
really
to
liked
run
it.
together after the first one. It's like, okay, which one was which after
I think it
this?
might be the second or third one. I can't remember, but anyway, like I watched The Nun, and those are really, really frightening to me. I don't
Mm,
know, they're really scary, but I really like, which I like that. What's her name? Vera Farmiga. Am I
yeah,
saying her name right? I love that. I love her. I love her in Bates Motel. I think that she's phenomenal in that, and I love her as Lorraine Warren.
yeah. I
I
do too.
think she does a really, really good job in that. So I think that might be kind of the motivation for me kind of watching those
Well,
films.
if you don't mind me asking about this, and if you don't want to talk about your thoughts on it, just say, "Dang, I don't want to talk about my thoughts on." It. But since we're talking about Lorraine Warren, and Lorraine Warren, there's been a lot of, and I think it's sad because now Ed and Lorraine Warren are both deceased. But after Ed died, well, quite a few years after Ed died, and Lorraine Warren, the real Lorraine Warren, helped. I think she helped as a technical advisor on the Conjuring films until
Yeah.
she passed away. But after Ed died, some people started to come out of the woodwork and talk bad about the Warrens. And then it increased after Lorraine died. So let me just give a little backstory to this. Me and Steve went to the movies to the theater to see the first Conjuring movie. We had a good time.
Me
That
too.
was a fantastic popcorn movie. You could watch people jumping up in their chairs, and it was a. People might think I'm silly, but it was a phenomenal experience. It was. I don't get that too much when we go to the movies. People will laugh and jump and stuff like that.
I was too busy going like
But
this.
nothing like what I experienced with The Conjuring. I was like, not only is the movie fantastic, but this atmosphere is fantastic. Steve was yelling, there were other people yelling around me, and it was so much fun. And it was scary, you know. So Steve loved The Conjuring. He loved the first Conjuring movie, and we were all both really excited about it. Okay, fast forward a little bit to this stuff started coming out about, oh, the Warrens were full of shit. The real kids from the family that was portrayed in the first Conjuring movie started coming out saying, and Lorraine Warren didn't do anything. That's bullshit. I don't know if they use that term, but what they were saying is Ed and Lorraine Warren were liars. They're con artists. And then it just exploded with not only Steve was coming to me and saying, you know what I heard about the Warrens, that they were asked to leave such and such place. This was about the time the second Conjuring movie came out. And they were asked to leave, or they weren't even asked to come to these places. I said, Steve, first of all, you know, I think maybe just Ed was dead at this time. I can't remember what year Lorraine passed away, but I said, Ed Warren is gone. He cannot defend himself. I said, how do you think this makes his wife feel for people to be just coming out? And they dealt with that early on in their career as what they did. And Ed was a demonologist. I mean, he said he was a certified demonologist. And Lorraine was a medium, a very, very strong medium, apparently. And I've seen old footage on talk shows where people argued with them, where people were even calling them con artists back then. But I said, it is so disrespectful when somebody has died. They're
Yeah.
not even here to defend themselves. And these kids waited years till a movie was made out of something. And it's not their parents coming out and saying anything, but it's the kids. And that
Yeah.
happened with the Amityville Horror too.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
the kids came out, or at least one of the boys uh, did my Amityville Horror, and I don't know how many of y'all have seen that, but he was going. I was like, is this guy on drugs or something? Because he was talking about how his stepfather George Lutz was his stepfather, and he said, sometimes George could get violent, sometimes this and that and other. It's like, are you just trying to cash in now? And I just don't understand, and George and Kathy Lutz are both gone now.
Yeah.
So people can say anything that they, want to say about
Mhm.
them. So I guess my question to you, I know I went on about it, but my question to you is, Candace, how do you feel about Ed and Lorraine Warren?
Well, I've always been interested in them. For a long, I mean, since the early 2000s, I've, studied what they've done, their cases, and all that good stuff. One would want to think that they are, sincere and legit and stuff like that, because that just what makes it even scarier.
Mhm.
But anything is possible.
Right,
It could be, baloney, but then again, it could not be.
right.
But isn't that what makes it even more appealing? To
Yeah.
You don't really know. But I do know that there is evil in the world, and I know there's good in the world. So, you know, I am inclined to believe that it is real.
Hmm. I think I just feel like the people that write people like the Warrens off, and I don't anybody get mad at me. This is just a feeling I have, because Steve has told me, for instance, over and over again, that he does not believe in spirits, ghosts, and dare I say it, God or the devil. But I won't get into that. That's, more personal than I want to get into. But I think sometimes when people don't have that belief system, it's easier to kind of turn a blind eye to
Yeah.
stuff. Maybe they've been shown stuff, but because they say, no,
Yeah.
I don't believe in that. It's easier to just turn away from it. It's easier to dismiss people as con artists, as crazies, as, um, I guess, easily swayed towards
Yeah.
one thing or the other. But
Yeah.
I have had, me and Candace have both talked about some of our paranormal experiences, and
Yeah.
I know this stuff is real.
Yeah, I personally I do too, but that doesn't mean, even as somebody who does believe in it, who is a spiritual person and
Mhm.
believes in things, and has had very eye-opening experiences with things that I can't explain. I do know that there are people out there that do lie and that do,
Yes. Mhm.
but even my own experiences, you know, people can trust me more than anybody. And it still may be hard for them to believe the
Mhm.
things I say because it didn't happen to them. Because when things are really, really fantastical
Mhm.
and, it's just not something that seems possible, when stuff like that happens to somebody and they experience it, you know, people that wasn't there that didn't experience it, it may still be hard for them to believe that it happened. So this stuff
Right.
like with Ed and Lorraine and stuff like that, all that stuff seems so fantastical, but if you're a spiritual person and believes in the Bible and stuff like that, you know stuff like that happens.
Mhm.
It is gonna happen and does happen, so you just kinda gotta go by that kinda stuff by faith, and if they are lying, then shame on them, but if that stuff did happen, then, and you just kinda have to have faith that they're
Right.
telling the truth. You know what? You kinda get what I'm saying? Am I making sense?
Yeah, yeah, it
But
makes total sense.
on the other hand, it's totally okay not to believe in it.
Right.
You have to make your own decisions on what you believe
Right.
and what
I
you
I guess what I have a problem with is people waiting for someone to pass away
Yeah, no, that
and
that
then
that
just
happens all the
trying to
time.
I just feel like they're trying to cash in on
Yeah.
something.
That happens a lot with a lot of people, like a celebrity will die or something, and somebody will come out of the woodwork
Yeah.
that knew 'em and would, just trash them and stuff. I'm like, "Why couldn't you do this when they were alive?" So they could defend themselves, but,
Yeah.
sometimes it's true, and then sometimes it's just baloney,
Mhm.
you never really can tell,
Right.
especially with the day and age that we're living in.
Exactly. X-Ray, I did want to, I hope you're still in here. You said, what's the topic tonight? Well, we don't really have a topic. It's just me and Candice. This is our welcome back
Shooting
show.
the breeze.
Yeah, we're just talking about anything and everything that comes to mind. And X-Ray also said, House on the Edge of the Park is better than Last House on the Left. Now, I like House on the Edge of the Park as well. Um, I don't think David Hess likes House on the Edge of the Park, or he didn't when he was alive, because there is an assault scene at the beginning of the film where his character violently assaults a woman. And he went on to marry that woman. And so I've heard David Hess talk in interviews that that scene, after he got into a relationship with this woman and they got married, he was very disturbed by it.
Mm.
He was very disturbed at watching, even though this is not something that he would ever do to a woman, the character that he was playing did this awful thing to this woman. And he said it almost made him ashamed that he
Mm.
did a scene like that. Um, so uh, House on the Edge of the Park, it's very violent. It's razor sharp. It's not for everybody, just like a lot of those types of films are. Uh,
Yeah, that's not my cup of tea. I
yeah,
don't care for stuff like that, so I don't watch them.
and I'm not saying you're a sicko if you watch them. Now,
No.
I would kind of look at you funny if you said, "Oh, I love those movies. Those are the greatest movies ever made." Now, I might kind of give you a side eye look if you, okay, but I watch them because I know what I'm in for. I watch them and I know what I'm in for. I know that they're exploitation. I'm not getting off on them. If somebody is getting off on them, I kind of think there might be something wrong with your brain circuitry there. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but no, I just feel like nobody should be getting off on movies like that.
Well, I
Uh,
would hope not.
I would hope there's nobody that's getting off
I'm
on.
sure there is, but I would hope not.
I don't want to meet them. If they're those type of people, I don't want to meet them. I watch them, and I watch things like that very rarely. They and other things like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. Michael Rooker
I
is fantastic in
Yeah, I
that,
do like that one. Yeah.
but that is a very dark and disturbing film, and it's not one that I like to watch all the time. It's not like Friday the 13th. It's not
Yeah.
like a slasher film. This is based on a real
Mhm.
serial killer, folks. And Michael Rooker was so fantastic in it. I mean, he was absolutely fantastic. But he made that so real
Yeah. Yeah.
that there's no coming back once you watch that movie. That is a movie that sticks with you for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Steve doesn't even like to watch that movie very often.
I remember the first time seeing it. I was, it's a shocking film, but I was impressed by it. I don't know what it was about it, but some people might say that that's a little too much. I've heard people say A Clockwork Orange is too much, and that's one of my
I've
favorite
heard
films.
I've heard people say that too, and I really, I don't want to say I love Clockwork Orange
I do love
necessarily,
I love A Clockwork Orange. I do.
but
I'm not.
there's nothing wrong with that, Candace. I don't know what it is that keeps me watching Clockwork Orange. It's just I think it's the way that Kubrick filmed it, and
I love him.
Malcolm McDowell is mesmerizing in anything he is in.
It's very cheeky. I know there's a lot of scenes in it that's very uncomfortable, but take away those scenes. That's not the reason why I like it. Those that's just, something that unfortunately I wish it wasn't in it, but it is in it. But the rest of the film, I don't know. It's just I don't know. He's very Alex is very cheeky, and I don't know. It's just there's something about it very artsy
Yeah.
and the music that's in it, and I
Yes.
don't know, it's just one that I really enjoy. I
And
really
the
enjoy Alex, his character.
and the sort of made up English slang,
Yeah,
British
yeah,
slang, as you may call it, things that you got to stop and think a little bit about what Alex is saying. What is Alex really saying here? Like he'll say, "I had a pain in my Gulliver." So you kind of have to put two and two together to figure out what
yeah,
what he's exactly talking about. It's like him and the Droogs have their own special top secret language that nobody
yeah,
else
yeah,
understands
and
but
then
them.
you have the Korova milk bar that they go to. That's such
Yep.
a just, you have to go and it's like, "What is this? What are they doing? What is this?" And then you have, like, just I don't know, it's the whole weirdness of it all, and
Mhm.
and,
It's
it's
just so
the
off kilter that,
yeah, very off kilter, and
and like nothing I'd ever seen prior to that. I was like, holy cow. So I got to tell my funny story about Clockwork Orange again. I know Candace has heard this story. And I'm sure everybody has a story about their parents catching them watching something, and just, it's very embarrassing. So here I am. I was the only one in the house at the time. Mom and dad were off doing their own thing. So I thought, well, I'll sit in the living room and watch Clockwork Orange. Should have watched it in my bedroom. So we got to the scene, and Candace will know the scene where Alex is in the record shop and he meets the two girls and they're sucking on the or the suckers, and he takes them back to his place
has a high
and
speed orgy.
has a high speed orgy. That's the best one. So when does my dad decide to come into the
At the
house?
worst
What
possible
is
time.
that scene? And I was like, you know, and I just paused it real quick,
Paused it.
Yeah,
You was
because
like
I
a
didn't
chance by pausing it.
I was so shocked I should have stopped it, but I just hit pause. And so here's this nakedness going on. And
Oh my
my
god.
dad looks at the screen for a little bit, and you guys and gals would have to know my dad to know how funny this was. My dad is actually a really funny guy. He he stood there and he looked at it for a second, and he looked at me. He said, "Dana, what on earth is this movie you're watching?" He had never heard of it. I said, "It's called Clockwork Orange, Dad." And he forever referred to that movie as that stupid orange movie. From then on out, that stupid orange movie, and he had no interest in whatsoever in
Well,
seeing it.
I had a kind of funny I think I've probably told this before when we did that watch along, which was a very popular watch along that we did,
Mhm.
with the
Yes,
Clockwork
very popular.
That was a very fun one too, because
Mhm.
it's something I'm passionate about. I love A Clockwork Orange. I mean, it's one of those movies that I really like, but, if I hope that ain't saying nothing bad about me, but I love A Clockwork.
No, no, like I said, you can say that you love it. I mean, in a lot of ways, I do love it. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
I think I like how Kubrick really went out there,
Yeah, it is
and
very out there.
how Malcolm McDowell pulled out all the stops, and
Yes, yes.
it just went so over the top with a lot of
Well, it's kinda like the story with my dad, like, he knew what a clockwork when he found out that I liked Clockwork Orange and I was, painting, like, art, making art of Clockwork Orange and had stuff up in my room. I had a poster. I got a poster in my room right now for Clockwork Orange. Um, and he seen that stuff and I would talk about it. He knew what it was already from
Mhm.
when he was younger. So apparently, my uncle liked A Clockwork Orange, and my dad had seen my uncle watching A Clockwork Orange, and my dad would always refer, like how you said that your dad would refer to it as that stupid orange movie.
Yeah.
You don't want to know what my dad referred to. He
I can
said,
probably imagine from what you've told me about your dad.
"Well, excuse my language, okay? Because this is kind of vulgar, and you might not want me to say it, but I
No,
want to."
you go ahead. I've said before, I'll say it again. If you're under the age of 18, you maybe shouldn't be in any of my streams. So there, I said it.
But he would always call it that movie where that guy rides around on that big old pecker.
Yeah, and he does. I mean, literally, he does.
So that's what he would always call. He said, "That's that movie where that guy rides around on that big."
Oh my
She
goodness.
likes that. She likes that movie. But I met Malcolm McDowell, and that was one of the most I love. I met him twice in the same day. It was so
Yeah,
good.
I remember you telling me about
So
that.
so that was very awesome, I thought. But
Mhm.
no, I mean, you like what you like. I mean, there's no, you know, if you like a certain movie, that's up to you. Like I was saying, because I was raised watching Nothing But Trouble. That is one of my
Mhm.
family's favorite movies. That's one that me and my dad watched together, me and my papa watched together, me and my brother watched together. Chris loves it. It's just a family movie, stuff that I was raised on and loved. Recently, I realized, because I had seen some reviews and stuff on it and people talking about it, that that film did not make very well, and people
Mhm.
were really kind of they didn't like it. But to me, it was this amazing film that is so funny and
I
I
like it better now than when I first saw it. I think I was confused I didn't know what to make of it the first time I saw it. I didn't hate it. I
yeah,
was just confused, but watching it again allowed me to get a deeper,
yeah, and
appreciation for it.
it may just be where it's a family movie of ours that we share the love for.
Mhm.
But I know Siskel and Ebert hated it.
Oh,
They were
they
com
hated a lot of stuff.
yeah, but, I realized later that it was a cult movie that, that had a
Mhm.
big cult following, and that there are people that love it just as much as I do. And I'm like, I don't understand. I can understand why people don't like it. It is very weird. And if I had never seen it before, see, I
Mm.
have a weird thing, and I think I've talked to you about this before. I don't know what it is, but I have a weird thing about weird looking things like, like moon, like faces in the moon,
Yeah.
and stuff. I
Mhm.
have stuff like that makes me like the Tom Petty video that I don't talk about
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
Alice they're eating her, like anything weird like that makes me sick to my stomach. I don't know what it is. It's something I think psychological as a kid. And I think it started with that Tom Petty video.
It probably
No,
did because there's a lot of bizarre stuff in that video.
well, actually, it was before the Tom Petty video. I watched this really horrifying Alice in Wonderland that was really old. And then like a
Oh,
week or 2 later, I seen that video for the first time.
and it's
And
like,
that
oh my
really,
gosh.
yeah, so I have a really weird thing for weird looking stuff. So I can see if I had never seen that movie before and I just now started watching it, like what's their name? Bebo and Little Dimples,
Mhm.
the people, the kids that live outside. I mean, they're not kids, but they look like kids. They're really weird looking.
Mhm.
Dan Aykroyd's character is really weird looking and
Yeah.
stuff. But I could see that probably confusing me and maybe turning me off on it. But as somebody who was raised with it and loving it so much, it's just it's a movie that I love. But some people might look at me like be like, "How do you like that movie?" You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
but
one
I've
of those
had
things.
people look at me like I'm insane when I talk about certain movies. I don't get that from Candace because me and Candace have kind of
I don't care what you
a
like.
mutual, things like the E word movie. I won't even mention the name of it, but I know what pushes Candace's buttons. So certain things I try not to talk about. But me and Candace have a mutual love of movies
Yeah.
in general, and so I think we understand and I don't mean this in a bad way, but idiosyncrasies about
Yeah.
certain movies. I think we just get that. I
Yeah.
get the stuff with Candace. She gets the stuff with me.
Yeah.
And even if we don't agree on 100% of the same movies, we still like a fair amount
Yeah.
of them alike that we can discuss things about.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because Dana likes a whole lot of stuff that I wouldn't like, and I like a whole lot of stuff that she probably wouldn't like. But we have a very, you know, huge mutual love for a lot of things that we
Mhm,
share, you know. So, just like a lot of people, you don't have to like the same things to get along or anything like that. It makes it easier,
mhm,
and then I'll tell you this, me and Chris were very much alike, but he liked things that I had never seen before or didn't like. But when I started, going with him, he would introduce me to the things and I would introduce him to things. And I've become a fan over the years of things
mhm.
that he's introduced me to and, you know, vice versa.
Me
And
and Steve have done that too
Mhm.
over the years.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, and maybe even Dana. Man, Dana's probably had some kind of influence on one another. I know I was a huge Ozzy fan. Dana liked Ozzy, but she just hadn't delved into him like she
Mhm.
said before in the past. But now she's a huge fan. It's
Yeah.
so we've talked about that, and we've talked about our mutual love. Now that she's a huge fan, we have a mutual love of Ozzy. So we
Mhm.
talk about Ozzy all the time and things that maybe that she's never seen before. And she said, "Hey, Candace, have you seen this?" Maybe I hadn't never seen it, even though I'm a huge fan of
Mhm.
Ozzy. There's stuff I've not seen before, so she'd say, "Hey, you need to watch this or something." Or
Which speaking of that, I don't think I don't remember if I've talked to you about this or not, but one of the things that Steve got me for Christmas, because I told him I wanted some Aussie stuff
yeah,
for Christmas. So he got me I know Candace knows about this, but he got me the Patient Number 9 uh,
yeah,
LP, the vinyl, which I've got sitting in there, sitting up in my little stand now playing. Every time I walk past it, I see Ozzy there. I haven't listened to it yet, but I want to. But one of the other things that Steve did get me was Ozzy Osbourne Live and Loud,
Yeah, yeah.
which
I
is
have
the
that.
only concert video I could find, and I absolutely love that. I absolutely loved watching it. Even the in between stuff where
Yeah.
Ozzy tears up this contract and stuff, and when he's sitting around in his towel and he's waiting for him to bring him his muffins, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and it has the sweet little scene with him and Jack.
Yeah. Remember I sent that to you
Yep,
and you
you
yeah,
did.
you had never seen that before. That's what that's from. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. That was always one of my favorite little things and stuff. And the thing about how like Ozzy was and stuff like that, I think, don't quote me on it, but see, I'm a huge Wayne's World fan. I
Mhm.
love Wayne's World and Wayne's World 2.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're a big fan of them or not, but I
Oh,
always
oh,
love
yeah, and Steve is too, so
yeah, so, um, there on the second one, there's this guy that they have to go get,
mhm.
over in England, and he keeps on telling this story about M&Ms, like brown M&Ms. I think they got that from, like, Aussie and stuff, so always thought that was funny.
I'm gonna read through a few more of these, because I didn't even know Chris was in here, but Chris
Oh,
was
I didn't
in
know
it.
he was in there.
So X-Ray says it's funny. There was one episode he's talking about the Osbournes where Sharon was telling the son how Kelly should date P. Diddy. The son was disgusted by the idea. If only we knew. I don't remember that, but I haven't watched all the shows yet.
Oh,
So
yeah, I remember that, yeah, about the PD. Was talking about how he, like, smelled or something like that.
Steven says Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke was hilarious. I never get tired of it. That guy Strawberry went into hallucination. Yeah, while he was driving Cheech down the
Strawberry
road and jumped off the motorcycle.
oh, I love that. That's one
Tom
of the best.
Skerritt playing Strawberry. Yeah.
When we met him, we met Tom Skerritt, that was me and my brother and Chris, we met him, and that's all we talked about, and he laughed that we brought that he was just, like, hilarious, and we was like, "We are huge, huge Cheech and Chong fans, and we love Strawberry," and that bird, "Strawberry's not here. You wanna
Yeah.
get high?"
Wanna get
Yeah. "Wanna
high?
get high?" We quote that all the time because we say stupid stuff. We quote stupid stuff, and that's one of the things that Cheech and Chong is the first movie. The Up in Smoke is probably one of the most quoted
Mm.
movies. Me and my brother we quote it all the time. So, but yeah, I loved meeting Tom Skerritt and talking about Strawberry. Berry. His wife was just laughing. She's like, "I love you." Yeah.
Yeah, and when Cheech tells Chong, before we get to my cousin Strawberry's house, he says, don't
Don't look at
look
me.
at it, don't look at his birthmark, don't talk about it, don't talk about his face. And the first thing that Tom Scared says to me, he says, "What you looking at?"
And
Oh, ain't nothing. I wasn't looking at his face, man. He leans over the
yeah, he's like, "I wasn't looking at his neck, man. I wasn't looking at his neck." Yeah, that
And
was
Chris, I think, is referring to the Conjuring movie that had the possessed little girl. He said
oh,
Conjuring 2. And
102.
I'm remembering that now.
I
Because
thought it was around that 2nd, 3rd, or I couldn't remember.
I think the second one was like the Edinburgh haunting or whatever they called that. The one in England.
Yes,
That
yes,
was-
that's it. That's the one, yeah.
Mhm. Uh, Steven says the first Conjuring was his favorite. Hey, Stalin, I hope you're still in here. I meant to say hi to you earlier and I got off talking about something else. X-Ray says, I personally witnessed with one other person something we both couldn't explain. Don't know if it was ghosts, though. But it could have been. There's a lot of, paranormal or sometimes just fantastical things that happen to us. Um, X-Ray says it's okay to have an open mind about weirdness as long as you approach it with a critical mind. But there are some skeptics who will jump through hoops to say something is fake. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen that happen. Stephen also says, I heard a strange tapping at the workplace one night last April after all the mechanics left the building. there shouldn't have been any noises after they left. It was very odd.
I've had things like that happen to me.
Mhm.
That's just really weird, and, you just, like, couldn't explain what was going
Yeah.
on. I've had stuff like that happen too, yeah.
And X-Ray says, and you're right, because I did read A Clockwork Orange, the book as well, many moons ago. But he says some editions of the book had a glossary for the lingo, and
Yeah.
they did. And boy, did I have to look. I was like, okay, what is this? Oh, okay, that's what that is. Because that author of the book even was so unique and so creative. He created this whole language for
Yeah.
Alex and the Droogs. I
Yeah, yeah,
mean,
definitely.
it's and I had never seen that done before in any other book that I had ever read
And
before.
then I think that kind of like with the whole which I've never seen Game of Thrones or anything like that, but, with those Game of Thrones books, there was, like, their own lingo and stuff in that as well. I think I'm right. I think that might be
I think I heard that too. Yeah, about that. And I never really, I guess Game of Thrones was never my cup of tea. It was
Chris
never
liked
anything
it.
that I wanted to, I guess,
Yeah.
invest my time in.
That's who Ghost is named after. I didn't even know that that was the dog's name.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's, Jon Snow's dog, I think, or wolf, or I don't know what it is. I've
Okay.
never seen it. I've just
I
seen
do
clips.
know the Jon Snow, who the Jon Snow character is.
Yeah, that's who our dog Ghost is named after. Yeah,
Oh,
his dog or wolf, whatever it is. I don't know if
that's
Chris is
very
in here, he can correct
interesting.
me. Yeah, that's what he's named after, so do you know who Mako's, named after?
Is he named after Miko Hughes?
Yeah.
You may
Yeah,
have told me that, Candice, and I retained it
yeah.
somewhere in my.
It's I'm also I love Disney, so me and Chris like Disney, so he's also it's like half and half. Mako Hughes, it's spelled like Mako Hughes, his name,
Mhm.
but also we love the character Mako from Pocahontas, the little, uh
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, Mako Hughes, that's who he's named
Well,
after.
Reggie has my dog, or me and Steve's dog, Reggie, our pit bull mix. He's named after Reggie Bannister
Yeah.
and Reggie the Reckless on Friday 13th, Part 5. Uh,
Mhm.
and Reggie even had his own red jogging suit, just like Reggie the Reckless did in Friday 13th, Part 5. I have old pictures of
Yeah.
Reggie when he was younger in his red jogging suit. But but yeah, he's named after Reggie Bannister from the Phantasm series, because I love Reggie Bannister. He was another one that I had a very nice and good
Oh,
experience.
yeah. Yeah, we met him twice, and first time he was still doing really good, and I had did a, portrait of him, and he loved it. He absolutely loved it. He was like, "This is awesome," and I gifted him a copy of it, and, the second time we met him was at Scarefest, and he was in the wheelchair and stuff, and I think he's got it pretty rough right now,
Uh,
but he does good, I guess, as good as he can be, but it's hard seeing the people that you really like and stuff, not doing well. So
mhm.
I'm hoping that he is doing well. I usually try to keep check on how he's doing and stuff. So I've not really looked in a while.
Now,
So because
when I was going to say, now when I finally met Reggie Bannister, he was frail, but he wasn't in a wheelchair at that
yeah.
time. He was
Mhm.
just a lot frailer than in years past when I'd seen
Yeah.
other people meeting, but he was so sweet and nice. And does his wife pronounce her name? Is it Gigi? Is that, or
Gee, yeah.
okay? She was very nice too, as well. Um, but I believe by the time I met Angus Grimm, he was in a wheelchair, and
Yeah.
Angus Grimm passed away not long after I met him. So I was I felt blessed that I got to meet Angus Grimm when I did.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was a very sweet, just a gentleman. and not at all like the character of the tall man. He was just very, very kind, very sweet.
Yeah.
And
Chris really wanted to meet him. He didn't get to. Now, I'm not what you call a huge because I had never seen Phantasm until I met Chris. I'm not what you call a huge fan of the Phantasm films, but I really like Reggie Bannister. I think he's a really sweet person and nice person and stuff. So, I always like, every time that we would get a chance to see him, even if we wasn't meeting him, to say hi and stuff. So,
right.
um, but I do like Phantasm. No, Chris, he's like you. He's a huge, huge,
Oh,
huge, huge Phantasm fan.
I'm a fan from way,
Yeah.
way back. I mean, Evil Dead is my top horror film of all
Yeah,
time,
it's one of
but
mine
I
too.
would have to say, as far as a series goes, with the exception of Ravager, which people have heard me talk about Ravager before. That was just, that should have never been made, in my opinion. Should have ended it with four, and if Don Coscarelli couldn't make another one, then so be it. But anyway, that's another story for another day. But I would have to say the original Phantasm series, um, I think probably runs a close second for me. I love it that much.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
the same thing with the original trilogy for Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness.
Yeah,
Uh,
those are among my favorite. It
mhm,
was the thing that I got into the most was the Army of Darkness, the Evil Dead. I think probably my favorite horror series, it probably is the Evil Dead series, and
mhm.
probably after that would be the Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street's up there for me. There are just, there are so many that they resonate with me. And I don't mean resonate in a weird way. It's just, how you have comfort food? Well, for a horror fan, there are comfort horror movies.
Yeah.
As weird as that may sound, they're the ones we keep going back to. They're the ones that cheer us up when we're feeling down. Hey, well, put on The Evil Dead or put
Yeah.
on Phantasm or whatever is your pleasure
Yeah.
with those.
I also have a really, really I don't know, it kinda runs in neck to neck with the Nightmare on Elm Street is the Halloween series.
Mhm.
I really I'm not what you call I love slashers growing up, but I think it was just a genre that really was overplayed for me after a while. You know how you kinda get tired of stuff.
Mhm.
So, you and Chris are huge into slashers and stuff, so I loved it growing up, but it kind of just got boring to me after a while, and
Yeah,
I'm into the supernatural stuff.
right.
Uh,
See, my mom did that. As she got older, she shifted from
yes,
things like Friday the 13th and stuff
yeah,
like that to ghosts,
yes,
supernatural type things.
that's how I am, but with that being said, you know, the Halloween series is something that never got boring to me. For
Mhm.
some reason, there is something about it that Michael Myers is very chilling still to this day to me. I love the character of Dr. Loomis. I mean, you know that Noah was Dr. Loomis,
Oh, yes, yes.
and but I absolutely love Donald Pleasence in that role. I think that is really what helps make, you know, my love for that series. But Michael Myers was always, I don't know, he was very chilling to me. I don't know. There's
Mhm.
just something about him that never stopped scaring me, if
I
that makes sense.
I think for me, the thing that makes Michael Myers, the character, so frightening is that Michael Myers to me is like a blank slate.
Yeah.
And his only objective, and he's very focused on his objective, is to get to his final target. And if anybody gets in his way, he's just like a dang bulldozer. He will kill whoever's in his way and just move on.
Yeah, yeah.
No, no, just like Dr. Loomis says in the movie, no reason, no conscience, know nothing.
And
And the
that's very
blackest
scary.
eyes, the devil's eyes.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
an exact
Yeah.
description of what Michael Myers is. There's nothing there. There's just an
Yeah.
instinct to kill. And that
Yeah.
is very frightening.
And
Very
I think that is one of the reasons, one of the appeals of the Norman Bates character to me.
mhm,
Because, Norman, he wasn't supernatural or anything like that, but when he would go into his state of,
mm,
whatever state that was that he went into, it was very scary because even he didn't know what he was doing. He would come out of it and wouldn't know what he was doing, and it was the show. You've watched Bates Motel, right?
some of the episodes,
Well,
not all of them.
I love it. You start out, he's sort of normal. He's been through a lot and has had a lot of damage from having to see stuff that he, grew up and they had to see. But as it progresses, he becomes more and more blank and more like,
Mm,
out of it and stuff. And just that whole thought process that your mind can do that to you is very
mhm,
scary because it's a very real thing that could happen, and it's based off of, Ed Gein. So, you know, the psychological damage that happened to him growing up with his
mhm,
mother and stuff and just how he was raised and stuff kind of played in fact, factor of what he ended up doing and stuff. And, it just shows that, if mental health isn't taken care of, our mind can really take us to some deep, dark places.
exactly.
And that kind of is, I because I love Psycho. I love the film
I do
Psycho.
too.
I just think that it's one of those classic films that
Mhm,
never gets old seeing it because it starts out with one person and
mm,
then, she ends up at this motel, and then it takes a turn. She's got a problem that she's going away from because she's done something, and
right.
you think I can imagine people seeing this for the first time, never knowing what we know now Psycho is based off of or what it's
Mm,
about and stuff. They probably went into this movie thinking that this movie was going to be about this woman that's done something. I'm not going, just in case you never seen Psycho, I don't want to give it away, but she's done something that she shouldn't have done, and she's running away from it
right.
and trying to you know. So I could imagine their surprise whenever it kind of
Yeah.
what happens to her, and
Mhm.
then it becomes Norman's story,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that especially back then that had to be frightening seeing that
Mhm.
because I think
Yeah, for
even
the time period that this was released in 1960.
Mhm.
Um, can you imagine audiences saying that?
Yeah, I mean, it's
I
just
mean,
I can imagine what they experienced and what they were thinking, and, the whole Ed Gein story was very famous, so people knew what that was, and they knew that this was they probably ended up knowing that it was based off of him, but even Anthony Perkins, I think, had a hard time doing that character, and it was
but
really
I
odd for
cannot imagine anybody other than Anthony Perkins playing Norman Bates. No,
I
nobody.
love Freddie Highmore's they could never have picked a better person to play him. He at times, I can see Anthony Perkins in him so much. He did a fantastic job as Norman. So
But
if
in the movies,
yes, in the
could you
movie,
imagine anybody else in that role?
no, no, and, I thought that whenever Bates Motel had come out, and I was thinking, "I just don't know how I'm going to, accept this," but I fell in love with it, and I think that he did fantastic. They
Mhm,
could not have picked a better person to portray
right.
Norman Bates, and, there's times just the way he looks, there's whenever he starts getting into that psychosis and stuff, and he's got that same look as Anthony Perkins, he does a
Yeah.
fantastic job. If you ever have a chance to rewatch it, maybe you started watching it and didn't think you're gonna
I
like it,
Well, I
give it a
think what
second chance.
happened was I started watching it and then other things took
Yeah.
precedence
It's
over it,
it's
and
amazing. I absolutely love it. People may disagree with me, but as a huge Psycho fan, I love it. I think that Freddie Highmore did a fantastic job playing, and Vera Farmiga, she did amazing as Norma. You get so involved in the character's life. It's like me and my mom, because she had never seen it before, and we're almost to the fifth season. We talk about them like they're real past. I told her today. I said, because we was watching the episode. I said, "Isn't it weird how we talk about them like they're real?"
Well, I find myself doing that with
Yeah.
series that I really get, just like Stranger Things. If we could stop and
Yes.
talk about Stranger Things, I almost talk about those people, those
Well, yeah, we
kids,
do too. That's one
the
of our
kids in
favorite things.
particular. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
uh,
one of our favorite things here. So it's amazing.
because I think for me, for Candace, for Chris, for Steve, for those of us that grew up and that were
Yeah.
80s and 90s kids, this stuff from Stranger Things really, really
Yes.
resonates.
It's
Um,
like I remember that, or I
mhm.
was born in '86, but I remember, you know, very early childhood, and a lot of things that were in the '80s kind of went out into the '90s as well. So,
Right, exactly.
it brings back a lot of memories and stuff, and I think that's one of the greatest appeals of Stranger Things. But, I started watching Stranger Things the day it debuted. I didn't knew nothing about
And
it. It was
and I did not. I held off and I was like, this is gonna be one of
well,
those
Chris
things
did
where it's
too.
all hype. And I held off, and then I was working nights at the library, and I came home and I turned on Netflix and I said, well, let me give this little show a try here. I didn't have much hope for it. I really was a pessimist when it came
Yeah.
to it because I'd been burned so many times before. So I watched that first episode, and I swear to you guys and gals out there, this is no lie. I got so caught up in it that I binge watched the entire episodes until I got to the current episode. I just
Mhm.
sat there and binged watched it. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
this is fantastic. I mean, it was unlike anything
It's
else I had
amazing
seen in a
show.
long, long time.
Yeah.
It affected me in a good way, in
Yeah.
ways that other things had not.
That last episode of the ending of that and all that stuff, I don't think I had ever cried. I won't give away any spoilers or anything like that. I'm just gonna say this. I don't think I've ever emotionally cried like that to anything. Like it because we watched these kids grow up basically.
Yeah.
Like I said, I watched it from the very beginning. The first day it was put on, I didn't even know nothing about it. I just knew it was a new show, and um it was I guess you just get attached, and you're so you want more. So I'm hoping that some of these, spin-offs, because I've heard there's gonna be some spin-offs. I hope
I heard
they're
there was going to be an
good too.
animated thing
Yes, there
too,
is. Yeah.
which I'm kind of curious about
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well. I got to read X-Ray's comment here. He says, "You didn't like Rob Zombie's take on Myers, Dana, where he turned him into a homicidal trailer park juggalo." No, I did not. I like Rob Zombie's music, folks, and I like House of a Thousand Corpses. I like The Devil's Rejects. Some of the rest of Rob Zombie's movies is kind of hit and miss with me. So I don't dislike Rob Zombie as a musician or even as a director, but no, I did not like his take on Michael Myers. I just, it just wasn't for me, but
I'm a
it was
huge
for
Rob
other
Zombie
people.
fan. I'm a huge Rob Zombie. I love Rob Zombie's music,
Hmm.
but I'm not huge on his movies.
Right.
That's just me, especially the Halloween. I went to the movies and watched them,
Hmm.
but, they just, I love Malcolm McDowell,
Right.
but, I don't know. They're not my favorites.
And I'm sorry, folks, but I'm not a fan of Scout Taylor Compton playing the Laurie character. I thought, why would you change the character that radically? and I just thought she was vulgar and stuff, talking about the donut hole. And I'm not a prude, folks. I've said that before. I am not a prude. I have lived my life, and I'm not a prude. But when you, and I'm not saying she had to be like Jamie Lee Curtis's version of Laurie Strode. I'm just saying, why did it have to go into such far out areas like that? And people may have their thoughts on it, and I would love to hear their thoughts if people have their thoughts on it that differ from mine, because that's what makes the world go round, folks. I always say a good healthy is the key word. Healthy debate. That does not say you call somebody stupid, but
Yeah.
a healthy debate is always good. I think that is what makes us unique and individual people,
Yeah.
is having our own thoughts and feelings on stuff. Um, X-Ray says Scout Taylor Compton is a talented actress. Dana, stop the hate. Well, you're entitled to your own opinion, but Scout Taylor Compton is just not for me. I'm sorry. She may be a very nice person, but as far as the stuff I've seen her in, I just don't care for her. Danielle Harris, I always loved Danielle Harris, but I don't know what happened to Danielle Harris over the last few years, to be honest. I won't go into deep detail about that, but anybody that has
Better not.
seen Danielle Harris lately on videos or anything, just make up your own mind about it. But yeah, if you like Scott Taylor Compton, I say, go for it. As Steve tells me sometimes, go for it. Um, but I meant to ask Candace this 10 minutes ago, but I've had such a fun time, and I think Candace has had such a fun time, and you guys have been great in the chat and stuff. And for those of you that I didn't get to catch all of your messages, I do apologize for that. But this is a lot. We've had a lot of messages, and usually I don't have this many, so it's good to be back with Candace where we're talking back and forth. It gets you guys and gals thinking, and it's a great thing. X-Ray, you said Danielle Harris is charging $80 a pop for her eyebrow hair. I'm not even going to go there. I don't want to get sued or anything by Danielle Harris, but anyways. But probably me and Candace, we've been on here for a little over 2 hours, and we did not originally intend to do this. So I guess unless Candace has something else that she wants to bring up, I just thought we would tie things up.
No, just stay safe out in this snow if it's heading your way. It's headed here. So I don't know how it's up there where you're at, Dana.
Well, we may wake up to a foot of snow or more.
Well, it's coming down out there, and it's ice right now. So yippee!
I hope it changes over to at least snow at some point.
Yeah, me too.
Because that ice is very dangerous. And you get too much ice, you're looking at power outages. And
just 1 second, Dana. I need to push pause on this.
But while Candace is doing that, I just want to thank everybody that showed up for me and Candace's return to Friday Foolish. And I hope that y'all like the new logo. I hope that y'all like the new thumbnail and stuff. I don't officially have that thumbnail behind us, but I will for the next one. I hope Candace liked it. I thought it was funny and entertaining, and that I would hope if me and Candace were action stars, we'd be the badass action stars like that. I would love to be like that. I'd like to be a badass action woman. But So hopefully I'll have everything, up to snuff when we do our next one. I don't know when that's going to be. Me and Candace will have to talk and see, what our schedules are going to be and all that stuff. But I want to thank you guys and gals again. It's a warm welcome back for me and Candace and for the Friday Foolish show. And we hope to do many more of these. Sometimes life gets in the way of what we want to do, and we have to take care of what we have to do before we can do what we want to do. And sometimes that's a hard pill to swallow, but it's just the way it is. If we want to be responsible adults, we have to take care of ourselves and those that depend on us. Candace has a son. Her and Chris have a son that they have to take care of. He depends on them. They have, family. I have family that depends on me. My husband and I depend on each other. Candace and Chris depend on each other. So sometimes, well, that has to take number one precedence.
Yeah,
for
like right now,
anything.
he's needing me out there right now. My uncle's down here with a generator, so he said,
Oh,
"I
okay.
need you right now." He says, "So
So we're gonna call it a night, folks. But
I'm coming." Sorry, Dana.
but I want to thank Candace for being on here with me,
Oh
and we hope
yeah,
to be
had a
back
good time.
soon. And I want to let Candace go before they. So I'll tie everything up, Candace. If you want to go ahead and call it
Okay,
a
I hate to rush off like that, but
no, it's
they're
okay.
needing me. See, do you understand why it's been a
Yeah, exactly,
while? But anyway, guys, I'll see you later. Y'all have a good night.
exactly. All right, so I'm going to tie this up, folks. X-ray, you said Dana taking care of Steve's like taking care of a big baby. Well, sorry, but men are big babies sometimes. But I love my big baby Steve. I'll always love that guy. But and it's really no problem most of the time to take care of my big baby. Um, so I've got to run to the restroom, so I've got to tie this up. But again, I want to thank those of you that turned out for the chat. Stacy, X-Ray. I'm going to try not to miss anybody. Stephen, Kits, thank you for stopping by. Stalin. Let's see. Gory Tiger was in here. Thank you, Gory Tiger. Jordan. Tom, in case you watch this on the replay, Tom. But good night, X-Ray. So I also want to thank those of you that maybe didn't feel comfortable getting in the chat, or maybe you were watching on a device where you were unable to chat. I thank you as well for stopping by to see what me and Candace were talking about tonight. And for those of you that will watch this on the replay that didn't get to join us live tonight, I thank you as well. And as always, I'm off like a dirty shirt. This shirt ain't dirty, but I'm off like one. And Candace was off like one. And I also want to remind everybody, as I always do before I get off of here for the night, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. Have a fantastic rest of your Saturday night, folks. Stay warm. If it's cold where you are, if it's snowy and icy where you are, stay warm, stay safe, because I want to see you guys and gals back in here the next time I do a live stream. I love each and every one of you out there, and I'll see everybody next time.